Good afternoon. Hello, Avantika, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible. Hello?
Hello, yes, Avantika.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, educators. We're going to begin with this session shortly. It's exactly 3:50. We'll begin with the session around 4 o'clock. I would like to request everyone to please rename themselves in case their name shows as a number or iPhone. I can see two people. They are connected with their phone numbers. Their name is as the number and one is with iPhone. So may I please request you to kindly rename yourself. A lot of people are not connected via audio. may I please request them to kindly connect their audio. If one of them is your friend, kindly help them out. I sent a message on the chat box on how to connect with the audio. I will request teachers, if somebody is not connected via audio and you know them, kindly help them with the same. They won't be able to listen to the session otherwise. It's exactly 4 by my clock, rather 4:01. I would like to start this session. So hi, good evening everyone and welcome to the first am I audible?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Or thank you, teachers. Thank you so much. So very quickly, I'm Himani Mittal. I'm taking care of marketing for Madhubun Educational Books, and it's my pleasure to have all of you on board onto the Foundations community. This community was created for all the educators of ECC, Early Childhood Care and Education. All of us know that now, after the National Education Policy, we've also received the National Curriculum Framework for the Early Childhood Care and Education, which has changed the entire dimension of kindergarten or the foundational years, as we call them now. So for teachers, it's become a challenge and to understand and change with times. But don't worry, teachers, we are there to help you out and handhold you through this journey. So we're very happy that we have three mentors with us. Kulabani and Ms. Smriti Agarwal, who joined with us from across the country, and they have a vast experience in early childhood and education. They'll be with us, they'll be our mentors, and we'll do these things here. We'll help you out with everything related to foundational years, the curriculum framework, how to implement them, what can you do, what kind of activities run, how you about should you have any queries, request us to continue there, and we'll be more than happy to connect with you to answer all your queries on the platform during our session, either on our WhatsApp. All the group admins that you will see in group, they're all Madhuban team members. So you can reach out to each one, any one of them with your queries. They'll be more than happy to help. Even in this today, I have with me Amanda, who's another member from the Madhuban team. Also, I have several team members with me, Vyashri and Priyanka. So we'll be very conscious and we'll go to listen to all your questions and all your queries, and we'll be happy to note them down so that we can help you with better content in Madhuban books and also in answering all your questions, supporting you in whatever way required. So without further delay, I would now like to introduce the resource person, Ms. Uma Purkayasa, who's ex-principal, Navy Children's School, Delhi, and has a vast experience in early childhood care and education. She's a child psychologist and has been playing an active role via Madhubun and independently in changing lives of educators and children across the country. Let's take advantage of all her experience and learn a lot from her. So, Ruma ma'am, may I please have you on screen?
Thank you, Himani.
Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you for everything. Good evening, all of you who are here. Saturday afternoon. I know school must have just gotten over and you are here, so thank you for being here. And I have an hour, Himani, with me. So I
Yes,
will
Ruma ma'am.
take
So
you
we've said
through.
40, 45 minutes so that we have
Yes,
10 minutes for queries.
yes,
One more announcement. We're going to mute everyone right now so that we don't have any disturbance to the session. And should you have any questions, just put it on the chat box. We'll take it up, or you can ask them towards the end of the session. So, Ruma ma'am, you'll have
yes.
to unmute just once more.
We'll do
We are
that.
requested to mute everyone. I can also do it actually.
I think, Himani, I'm not able. Yeah. Okay, am I
Rohan,
audible
could
now?
you please unmute yourself?
Yes, ma'am,
Yes,
you are
yes,
audible
yes.
now.
Yeah, okay, Avantika, thank you. So as I was saying that I will take you through 30-35 minutes, maybe maximum 40 minutes of what I wish to share with you. Most of it, I'm sure, is going to be a repetition for you. While the session is on, please feel free to put in your questions. I'll answer them at that time if possible, otherwise later. And please feel free to ask whatever you wish to. I will try and answer all your questions. The topic for today is the changing educator. And I think the role of the educator is very, very rapidly changing as the months, days, years go by. Avantika, can we have the slideshow, please? Okay. And I'm sure you are all aware of the different roles that you're playing. And as Imani pointed out, can we put this on slideshow? Yeah, thank you. And as Imani pointed out, the NCF has come in. The NCF actually has only highlighted a lot of things which some of us were doing, some of us were not doing. But I think the focus is going to be on doing a lot more than what we were doing. So I will move to the next slide, which is why the role of the educator is changing. Because the world is not just changing. I think the world has already changed. Everything is just a click away. Information is accessible. Information is available. So what I needed to memorize earlier, I don't. Phone numbers. There was a time when we remembered phone numbers without, batting an eyelid. Today, if the cell phone is lost, I'm lost because I don't remember anyone's numbers. Just to give you an example. So there's a lot of information which earlier we would memorize, which we don't now because it's retrievable so easily. So when I say changing educator, I'm referring to the role, to your role, which is changing because you have to now focus a lot more on concept clearing and application. The content remains the same. Our content has not changed. But we have to look at how we reach out to our children because they, again, are a very, very different breed that's coming in from what we saw 10 years ago. So why not use the time that we have to broaden their thinking skills to help them to learn how to learn? Because if they develop the skill of learning the best way possible, they'll be able to face any and every situation that they have. In the next slide, I'd like to tell you what is it that I am actually going to discuss. I'm going to talk about who is a modern learner and a little bit about the different ways in which we learn. Nothing new, as I'm repeatedly telling you. Can we go to the next one, Avantika? Now, here are some pictures. What do these pictures remind you of? What can you give me a word or two for these pictures? You could put them on the chat box. Quickly, we won't waste too much time. What do you think I'm trying to get across to you by showing you these pictures? Come on, let's get some answers. Happily learning, yes, okay. Let's get a quick set of answers. Creative, reading, okay. That's it. Joy, all right. Teaching is multifaceted, absorbing the environment, fantasy, many loads, yes. Interest to read, information from technology, absolutely. Curious minds, active, receptive minds, very, very true. Child has so many doubts, yes, so do we. And we must ask when we have doubts. Experiential learning, yes. All right. So when I'm showing you this vast amount of information, yes, books open many vistas of learning, different methods of learning. Thank you so much. Now, can we go to the next one, Avantika, please? Now, basically, when I'm talking about these, I'm trying to tell you that the modern learner is the one who is in your classroom. All your answers were correct. They're open to technology. They are open to information. There's so much around them. Yes, I can see a message. We depend on books. Learners are creative. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Now, I have listed a few things that I thought I would reiterate. Today's learner, whether it's a little child who is 4 years old or who's 14 years old, has multiple sources of information. Multiple sources of information. They're digital natives. They're born into technology. And everything is just a click away. Now, when there is such an overload of information, there is also anxiety. Anxiety, yes, children, and right now we're only talking about the ECC, the early years, the early childhood years, the foundation years. Children, when they come into school, of course, they're anxious. They have so much to deal with, new environment, new teachers, changing of classes, etc., etc. You all know all that. So their anxiety is a lot more today because they also have a lot of information. Parents today are changing. They provide their children with a lot of information, which again is very debatable whether they need it or they don't. We won't get into that now. And if there are young parents here who are listening in to me, may well disagree with me. They are also naturally inquisitive and curious. And we've known this all along, that children are curious. It's a blank slate on which we write. But we have to fan that curiosity. We have to fan that inquisitiveness, which means that if I have to fan the child's inquisitiveness, I have to read more and I have to put in more effort. As it is, we have so much to do. And then on top of that, there's this resource person who says, put in more effort. Well, they are confident children. Very rare. I mean, I think the number of children who come into the kindergarten now crying are far less. Also because a lot of children, a majority, I would say 90% of the children go to play schools. And well, I'm very happy that the NCF is streamlining the play schools because they write, they read, and they're prepared, and then they come into school, and then they get bored, which is again incorrect. They're very data rich. As I said, multiple sources, they have a lot of information, they have a lot of data, which they may or may not be able to express. They're self-centered, and I don't mean this in a negative way. They are self-centered, they're growing up, they're thinking of themselves because that's their world. Their world is very small. So, and it is you who's putting in values, the parents, everybody who's learning that now, yes, there is something beyond the family, there's something more than that. So we have this bunch of children that come to you in a class. They're different from the ones that came in 5 or 6 years ago. And post-COVID, of course, everyone is technologically savvy. So they're coming in with all this. These are the children that you have in your classes. Now, obviously, the way you deal with them is going to be very, very different. Now, I have always been asked several questions about this modern learning, and they tell me that, oh, modern learning means that whatever we were teaching in the past, we won't teach. No, modern learning is not that. And next one, Abantika, please. As I've said here, it is not an abandonment of all past practices or the foundational skills. It is definitely not that. We cannot progress if we are going to abandon what we have been doing all along. It's not possible. So foundation remains the same. The skills remain the same. When we talk of fundamental literacy and numeracy, it's reading, writing, and numbers. It's the same thing. The only difference that comes in is that we have to teach them how to apply. If I know that 2 + 2 makes 4, but I am not able to tell you that there are 2 doors here and 2 doors there, and therefore there are 4 doors, then I have not applied it. So we have to strengthen not just on rote of addition or subtraction or words. It's basically how to apply them. We move further, and then next, please, Avantika. I've often been asked this question. Is modern learning just about 21st century skills and technology? And does modern learning mean students no longer learn the basics? I have put this here because these have been questions that I have been asked over the past 1 year. And before I go further, I would like to tell you that, as I said earlier, modern learning does not mean that children don't learn the basics. Definitely not. it is also not just about the 21st century skills and technology. It is in fact a combination of the 21st century skills and technology. It's a combination. It's the ability to apply this well. It's the ability where they can weave the two together, learn skills and progress further. Next, please. So when I define modern learning, what is it? It is a combination of a multiple set of skills and content. All the skills that were there, the content that you're using, and the amplification of this learning through choice, ownership, and technology. When I say choice here with the little children, we have to give them the ability to choose. We have to teach them how to make a choice. We are always shoving things down children's throats. So let us also, sort of guide them to learn to make choices. All choices may or may not be right. Even in life, we don't always make right choices. No? Some of our choices are incorrect, but we learn. Ownership. For little children, ownership is a sense of belongingness. If they feel they belong, they will learn better. They will learn to make choices and, of course, use technology. To get children to use technology, it's not going to be difficult. So are we ready for what we are going to do in the future? What is our mission? When I say our mission, what exactly is our mission? We have to prepare students to lead a successful life. The skills that these children are going to require 10 years from today are going to be very, very different from the skills that today's children are using. Somebody once asked me, does it mean that our children are going to stop using notebooks? And while I did say that, no, I'm sure they'll continue to use notebooks, I'm beginning to think maybe 10 years from today, it'll all be digitalized notebooks. So we really have to prepare our children to be able to cope with these skills. That is why the changing educator. If you as an educator don't change, it'll be very difficult to get your students to change, for your children to change. Now, if you look at the demography, the demographic data, by 2030, we are going to be the youngest population in the world. Look at the human resource that we have in our country. And these resources are with you in your classrooms. I can come here, talk to you and go away, but you are the one who is in the classroom. You are the one who actually has to get these children to learn how to apply, how to cope, how to adjust, how to learn. In order to, for that human resource in our country to become a positive, contributing human resource. So are we future ready? Let's see, are we future ready? Let's look at the next slide. Now, we are going to be future ready when we understand what is a modern learning environment. Can I have some answers here, please? What do you think is a modern learning environment? Janvi has said here, we have to add on to the existing practices with a modern approach. Yes, Janvi. So what would be the modern approach? What do you, interactive classrooms, all right? Something more? What do you understand? What is a modern learning environment? Blended learning is a kind of modern learning, all right? Mixture of both old and new, experiential
Activity-based classes, a student-centric environment.
Okay, activity-based.
Teaching with games and technology.
Okay.
Experience.
Cater to all types of learners. Yes, ma'am. Allow the child to think and answer for herself. Yes, flexible environment. Thank you. Thank you. I was looking for that. Flexible environment. Absolutely. A modern learning environment does not actually mean that I have to have the best, infrastructure in my classroom. I must have a very, very modern set of furniture, the best blackboard, smart boards. We don't have blackboards anymore. And, very, very fantastically super classroom. It could be anywhere. You could be sitting under a tree. You could be in a small room. You could be anywhere. But your environment must be flexible. Can we, the next one, please? Two things characterize, among various other points, the modern learning environment. Flexibility so that you can reach out to more learners. It's very, very important. And being innovative. And by innovative, I am not referring to looking for something fantastically original idea. Being innovative in whatever you do in the classroom. Pick up resources from around you. You don't always need something very fantastic to teach. So being innovative and being flexible is what caters to a modern learning environment. There are a few more things which I will show you in the next slide. A modern learning environment has to be continuous. Continuous means we cannot look at learning as an isolated activity. Everywhere and anything that children do, they learn. And I'm sure you are all doing it. When you take children out on a nature walk, it's just a nature walk, or are we doing other things along with it? We're carrying over what has been done in the classroom into a nature walk. We can even count the number of leaves, count the flowers, look at the color, look at the soil, whatever. So you're continuing with the learning. You're not stopping learning. You're using every situation to, give the child something. So it's a continuous thing. It's not like, okay, children, now it's time to learn. All right, open your books. Now we'll do something. Definitely open your books. Now we'll do something, but we don't stop there. We go further on. It's not an isolated event that happens. Content rich. We have content, but we're dealing with modern learners who have all the content that they want as it is. So you have to be smarter than that. You have to also look at content, be up to date with the content, because content is changing. Words that were used earlier are not being used now. Certain things that were part of our lives every day are not anymore. Simple things like in the KG, I mean, this is a very, very favorite example of mine. Helpers, who cuts your hair? I go to the parlor. I don't go to the barber. Content is changing. Who washes the clothes? We don't say washerman anymore. We say the washing machine or whatever. Of course, it depends on which part of the world or the country you are in. But my point is that content is changing. So be aware of the changing content. And there's so much existing content out there. You have to learn to be a good curator of content. Pick up what is required. Pick up what you think will interest them. And in order to pick up what you think will interest them, you have to read more. You have to go beyond it. So a changing educator is someone who has to look at her or his own professional growth also, and to be abreast with what is happening. So instead of sitting and making a lot of content, there's so much content available. Use that, see how you can apply it to the classroom, build activities around it. So you would definitely save on time. You all have textbooks in your classrooms, in your schools. A little beyond that. There's so much more that can be done. So look for content and make sure that you are content rich, immediate. They want answers immediately. So they're reaching out to you on a daily basis, constantly. And when they want answers, they want that discussion to close there and then. So now and you have the little ones. By the time these children go to the 8th or the 9th or even 6th or the 7th, they're that much more. They have that many more questions. So if you're content rich, if you're continuous in what you are doing in your learning program, you will be able to give immediate answers. So a modern learner requires continuity, requires good content, and wants answers immediately. So if you're up to that, you have modernized, and you will obviously thrive if you do that. Now, I have been talking of the modern learners. The next one, Avantika, please. The next slide. You are dealing with Generation Alpha. Children born after 2010 are Generation Alpha. And interestingly, Generation Alpha has been, it's been said that they are going to be decision makers. Your Generation Y were a confident generation. Your generations, Gen Z, as we say, were a competitive generation. Whereas this Generation Alpha is going to be decision making. involved in decision making. Now, how are they going to make decisions if we don't teach them how to make choices? Somebody has asked me here, any specific site you suggest for content, ma'am? There are lots of sites. Maybe after this, you can connect with me and I will guide you on it. Okay. So you are dealing with Generation Alpha, modern learners. So are you ready for it? Let me go to the next slide. A few questions for you. If you are a 21st century teacher, then are you able to identify yourself in these roles? You need to have a vision of what your student wants. Then only will you be able to guide them. You will be able to take them on the path of success. You have to take risks yourself, because only, and when you take risks, you understand the needs of the children. Will you be able to navigate? Will you be able to help children? So look at yourself. These are answers only you can give yourself. Are you an adapter? To be a changing educator, you have to be an adapter, a communicator. How good are your communication skills? Are you a learner? We cannot progress unless we learn. Visionary. And by visionary, I'm not talking about something very great. I'm just saying, are you able to visualize where your children are going to be 2 years from today? Or when they come to you at the end of the year, what is it that you see your child will leave your classroom with? Look at that. Instead of just going through the syllabi and the, whatever is your program for the year, for a moment, think, decide, by the time my children leave my class, these are the following skills are the ones that I think I would have done. And dear teachers, if you haven't read the National Curriculum Framework, please read it. It's an exhaustive document, but it is worth reading. There's a lot in it for you. And read it with an open mind. Don't read it with this idea that अरे ये तो हर बार आ जाता है, कुछ ना कुछ गवर्नमेंट निकाल ही देती है, हमें पढ़ना पड़ता है, again we have to change. Don't do that. Read it with an open mind. Next, Avantika, we can go to the next one. This is one of my favorite slides, and I just wanted to highlight it here when I talked about, you all of us being learners. Michelangelo, everyone knows who Michelangelo was. At the age of 87, he says, I am still learning. I'm sure everybody over here is less than that. So we have to go on learning, come what may. Okay, the next one. Typically, is this your classroom? Any comments on this? Is this your classroom by any chance? Something like this, do you get in your classrooms? Somebody has asked me, where can we read about the NCF? Ma'am, it's on the CBSC, it's on the net, it's on the website. Individual differences, yes. Anybody else? What does this picture speak to you? Subject topics, individual interest, okay? Every child has a unique interest, absolutely. Differentiated learning, okay? Come on, teachers, some more answers. We are 112 of us here, as I can see. So there should be at least playway method, engaged, happy classroom, learning at one space, okay? Learning by doing different actions. Okay, uniqueness, fun-based learning, different methods of learning, different learning styles. Yes, ma'am. Choose their own attraction varies with each kid, learning in free space. Okay. All right. Thank you. No books, desks. All right. I know it's lovely not have any books or anything. You go into a class, you've decided that this is what I'm going to teach. Maybe it could be a simple conversation. It could be vocabulary. It could be anything. You've gone with your content. You've gone with, whatever you have planned. You've got your worksheet. So you've taught, you've used activity, you've done your worksheet, you've done whatever, you've sung, you've danced, you've done everything in the class. But there'll still be those 3 or 4 children who are looking at you and you are wondering what has gone wrong here? Why have they not understood? I've done so much. I've tried. I've done so much. My God, these kids have still not understood. So we tend to say, okay, there's some problem with the child, let's call the parent. Okay, that's something we've been doing. Before that, let's ask ourselves, what is it that I can do to get these four to understand? Maybe I need to figure out something more about them. Maybe they are learning very differently, and that is why learning styles are important. Every child is unique. Every child. Yes, I can see somebody has raised their hand. Ma'am, if it's an urgent question, I can take it up or we can do it later. Personal attention needed, all right? If there are raised hands, Avantika, can we take the questions later, or would you want to take them? Can we just take the questions later?
Yeah, ma'am, we can take the questions
Yeah,
later on.
please, you please note down your questions. We'll definitely take them. I'll just do another 10 minutes and then we'll open up for questions.
Yeah, sure.
So when we talk about uniqueness, we talk of interest, there are different learning styles. That means every child learns differently, isn't it? Now, we as teachers must identify these learning styles. Research has given us about 7 to 9 ways learning styles, but here we will do only 4. Can the next one, please? And this is the VARK model, which everybody knows. Next slide, ma'am. The visual, auditory, read and write, and the kinesthetic. These are the 4 main reading styles. Now, visual, as you all know, is when we learn. How do we learn? Any answers can we get? Okay. We learn by seeing. Auditory, we learn by hearing. Read and write is by touch. We call it tactile. And kinesthetic is movement. Now, for all practical purposes, in our discussion today, we generally club the read and write and the tactile and the kinesthetic together, because there's a lot of overlap among these 4. Now, when we also talk about these, the next slide, ma'am. Yeah, when we talk about these, you have learners in your class who have all 4. Everybody has all 4. 1 or 2 may be the more dominant one, because generally learning is a combination of all of them. So what we have to do is to identify which is the learning style which is applicable to the child, or which is the learning style the particular child is following. Those 3 or 4 learners in my class whom I haven't been able to reach out to, maybe they learn differently. Maybe I can try something else. That is why, dear teachers, when we say do activities, do experiential learning, learning by doing, take them out, do the same thing in 5 different ways, is so that every single child of the class can be reached. In some form or the other, the child will learn. But we have a tendency to look at the visual and the auditory learners. We call them the oral learners, and then we move on. But we must understand that there are all 4 kinds of learners in our class. But before that, ma'am, next slide, we also need to understand what is our own learning style. Now, you have to find your own main learning style, because whatever is your learning style, your teaching will, I won't say unconsciously, but yes, semi-consciously, your teaching will be a reflection of your learning style, unless you have made a conscious effort to integrate the other styles also. So please find your own look. Now, it's not something, you don't need to go anywhere to do this. Think, introspect. First of all, understand that there are different learning styles. Take a moment, visualize yourself and how you study. Similarly, visualize your class and see, can you pinpoint a child in a particular way? And it works best if you have a notebook and you have a page for each child. Any observations that you make, which are, not the usual ones, note it down, because you will not remember. Maybe 10 days down the line, you might see there is a pattern in a child's behavior, but note it down objectively and not with, with an emotional content. Best way to understand is to do something very uncommon, which you don't normally do, and see how exactly have you learned. Try it in your classes also. Do something very uncommon, sit back and observe how each child copes with it. You will get a fair idea about what is the child's dominant way of learning. Of course, multisensory approach, when you use all four, it will be a multisensory approach. Next slide, ma'am, please. The premise here is that if the child doesn't learn the way we teach them, we have to teach them. No? So we have to teach them the way they learn. That is why learning styles are important. Now I'll quickly take you through some ways in which you can identify these learning styles. So we go to the next one, please, Avantika. Next. Now, if you have visual learners, generally these are children whose thoughts will wander. They listen to you and their thoughts will wander, but they will be good at spellings. They observe, but they go astray very easily. Their thoughts wander, no? So they can't observe for very long. They'll show a lot of interest in art, illustrations, pictures. They will prefer videos over reading, but they will concentrate well and they will give attention to detail. They're generally well organized. They need to see directions and not hear them. Generally, we say, no, go here, go there, go there. If you can make a little graphical thing, they will follow that better. Because for them, it's very important to see things. They understand better. And generally, a visual learner will be able to identify a place that the child has gone to earlier. You know, when you do walks in schools, and then the children cross the room and then it's, oh, this is my computer room, this is my art room, or this is where I play, or whatever. That means he's seen that place and he's able to recognize it. So they will understand or recall places they have been to earlier. They work on visual imagery. Their imagery is much, much higher than, and they generally, and as they grow older, they'll have a very good sense of direction. They will understand maps better. The next, please. Auditory learners. Hearing, no? It's so important for auditory learners to hear. Of course, they enjoy talking, enjoy discussions. They like to sing to songs. They love music. They will notice sounds that others don't notice in the class. They will read with whispering lip movements. Maybe there's a little a little murmur when they're reading. Because while they're reading, they like to hear. Then they cannot concentrate when it's noisy. You will find some children in class will say, there's too much noise, ma'am, I can't do anything. Because his learning is through hearing. When there's too much noise, it's interfering with his hearing. They prefer spoken directions over written directions. You can explain to them verbally, they will follow it. They like to talk. They do a lot of self-talk. And one of the best ways to identify is them if they're doing whispering lip movement when they're reading. Because they tend to do that. And of course, they like verbal praise from teachers. Please remember that. You put stars, you put smiley faces, you put whatever in there. For an auditory learner, a little, just looking at the child and saying, look, you've done well, I've given you a star, will go a long way. Because they like the verbal praise that they get. Next, please. Kinesthetic learners. Kinesthetic learners are those that are constantly involved in some physical movement or the other. They exhibit a lot of strength in any kind of physical activity, whether it is, sport or anything else. They're usually well balanced. They use a lot of gestures when they are talking. Their eye-hand coordination is good and they are fidgety. Especially when they have to sit down to learn, they are very, very fidgety. They move around a lot. They prefer not to sit still, but they like to participate in learning. They're very active participants, majority of them. They like to do things rather than read about them. They are not very fond of reading. They're not very fond of spellings, but they will enjoy problem solving because they have to do it. If you leave them to do something on their own, give them a problem, leave them to solve it, they will solve it. They like it. They enjoy that kind of a challenge. They like to try new things. And one of the very interesting things that research tells us is these kind of children always want to wear clothes that are comfortable. So if you come across children who are very fidgety about what they wear, maybe they don't like that. Maybe they're not comfortable, because comfort for them is very important. They also like to touch objects. As it is, little children always first the skin, the sensory approach of the skin starts first. But kinesthetic learners will always focus more on wanting to touch things. Go to the next, please. So these are some of the things that what I talked about earlier were some of the things that you could do. You could note down and you can try observing in your classroom. And I said earlier, the read and write tactile learners and kinesthetic, we've clubbed together. Now, generally visual learners, these are certain things that I'm sharing with you by which you can help visual learners. What is it that you as teachers can do when you identify somebody with this kind of a learning style? Encourage them to read silently. Encourage them to appreciate illustrations that go with the text. Or if they are very happy and they're showing you a picture and they want to talk about it, appreciate it. They will give them written instructions. They follow that better. Of course, very small children can't read written instructions. So in whichever form you give them instructions, they love role play. So if you act out a situation and speak, they will learn that. They like watching demonstrations or videos. Do picture games. Picture games works with everybody. Help them, encourage them to caption pictures, because that image is in their mind. Tell them to caption it, whatever. So they're linking word with picture. Comic strips, rewrite situations, give them comic strips, ask them to write or ask them to speak, whatever is the level of your class. Encourage humor, please. Learning is all about humor. Please don't take away humor from the child's life. Do reading games, do listening games, quiz and story building games, which I'm sure all of you do. Give it a little more focus. Picture captioning works very well. Watching videos works well with them. Illustrations, focus on illustrations and encourage them to read silently. You will know whether they're reading or not, because when you ask them, you'll know how much they've understood. The next one, please. Auditory learners. Language games work with them, listening-based activities. That's why oral repetition, dictations work with them. They will listen for clues. So if you make variations in the way you talk, in your tone or in what you say, they will learn to appreciate that. So give them activities where you are giving them clues, teaching them how to look out for listening clues. Recitation games help them to build on existing rhymes. They can build their own. They can use their own words to fit in. And board games. Board games, they love doing board games. Next, please. The read and write learner. They use their whole bodies to learn. They're writing, they'll go this way, all kinds of things. They like model building, hands-on tasks. For a read and write learner, it's important. I've written an integration of more physical and experiential elements. When they are copying from the blackboard, what's happening? They're involved physically, they're writing something, and they're seeing something. Make that a little more interesting. They like touch games, spatial games, craft games. In craft games, try giving them Lego or variations of Lego. They love to do these, the read and write learners, because they function on the tactile. The next, please. The kinesthetic learner, when you're doing something physical. So read and write is also physical, but this is a little more than that, but there is movement. They are known as these are hands-on learners. They learn, they'll be there, they'll learn. So give them as many, extracurricular activities or things where they can walk and talk, or they can, engage in outdoor play and learn, whichever form. But these are kinesthetic learners. Again, now kinesthetic learners, it doesn't mean that they'll learn only when they're jumping and skipping and hopping. No. Their inclination is towards that, but all learning is a combination of both. And research tells us that most of the learners today are kinesthetic learners. Hence the importance of learning by doing. Hence the importance of experiential learning. Hence the importance of hands-on activity. Multisensory approach, because learning is multimodal. So kinesthetic learners are here to stay. For all you know, when we identify ourselves, we may also well turn out to be kinesthetic learners. So the only thing is that when I talk about learning styles, it's the preference that one particular person has towards one way of learning. But all four are being used. So if you identify your learner in a particular category, it will be easier for you to reach out. You can give different kinds of activities then, or you can help them by overlooking a particular activity which they are not happy with, and they move on to the other activity. And you can do it in the foundation years. These things can happen only now. As they grow older and they go into senior classes, it becomes very difficult then to get them into these slots. That is why the foundation years are so crucial and so important. So if you understand learning styles, it will become easier for you to curate your information, modify what you want to do, what you're doing, develop new things that you would like to do in the curriculum, and it will make the receptivity of your class that much better. Go to the next slide, please, because I think we need time for... This is just a quick summary. You can use charts, graphs, picture aids, PowerPoints for visual learners. Learning by hearing, I've given you read aloud, listening centers, verbal instructions, discussions, repeating to a friend. Kinesthetic, learning by doing, incorporating body movements, tactile, which is touch, feel, hands-on work. Reading and writing, of course, they have to do reading and writing. So books, texts, dictionaries, note-taking. Now, note-taking sounds very big, but little children, we can get them to write 2 words, 3 words. That's also a form of note-taking. They can learn it right at the beginning. Next, ma'am. This is just to tell you, variety leads to success. Use all 4, understand your learners. Use all 4. You will definitely have a far more receptive classroom. I'm not saying that there will not be problems in your class. Of course there will be, but maybe there'll be less. Maybe learning will be better, and you'll have a more integrated and happier classroom because everybody would be learning something or the other. Next, ma'am. This is one of my favorite quotes. Every child has a different learning style and pace. Every child is unique, not only capable of learning, but also capable of succeeding. And the onus of getting the child to succeed is on us. It is 100% on us. Many of you in the audience will disagree with me, but I believe that it is on us. It is on us. We can help the child to succeed. All right. Thank you. Can we go to the next one? I'd just like you to see this video and then we'll open up for questions. I can't hear it. Avantika, I can't hear. Is there audio?
Yes, ma'am, there is audio. I will just stop sharing and share again.
Yeah, please.
Today, boys and girls, we're going to take a few minutes and draw on the pieces of paper in front of you something or someone you are grateful for. Taking the time for gratitude is so important for our peace of mind and our happiness. And it's a great way to remind ourselves how lucky we are for what we have and who we have in our lives. Afterwards, we're going to share what we've drawn with the rest of the class. Let's begin. wonderful, class. Now, who would like to come up first and share what you're grateful for?
Me.
Yes, Sarah, come on up.
I'm thankful for trees because they give me oxygen.
That's wonderful, Sarah. Thank you so much. Who would like to go next?
I'll go.
Jason, come on up.
I do my parents because without them I wouldn't even be here. And also they help me with my homework and I love them. Chocolate. I'm grateful for chocolate.
Okay, Rebecca. Thank you. Simon, why don't you come up and share with the class what you're grateful for? Come on up, Simon. I'll be right up here with you. What are you grateful for, Simon? How would you like to play a game with your classmates to see who can guess whose hand you drew? Would you like that? All right, class. Can anyone guess whose hand Simon drew?
I think it's the hand of a policeman because they protect us and keep us safe. I think it's Simon's hand because he's grateful to have a hand. Is it the hand of God? No. It's your hand, Miss Sanders.
Close it, Avantika. Thank you, teachers. This video was just to sort of reiterate that, you know, there's a lot to be grateful for all those children who are in your class. And I particularly loved the way the teacher reached out to that loner in the class, only to understand that, we can close the presentation, ma'am. The teacher reached out to the class. She was aware of this child and she reached out to him. And what a world of difference it made in his life. So in every class, there would be children like this, in whatever way possible, because it depends now. Try and reach out to that child in your class. And I particularly, when we talk of learning styles, most of the time, children who are not able to cope, maybe we are not doing enough audio activities, or we are not doing enough kinesthetic activities, or we are not tapping their visual content, they get left behind. So if we use things in our classrooms which are catering to all these things, there is a possibility that we will not leave any child behind. And gratitude, yes. If children are grateful to us, we are also grateful to the children, because that's how we learn. Thank you for listening to me so patiently. And questions, please. I can see one question here that came up. For children who don't show interest in writing, I think this is a perennial problem. Yes, there are a lot of children who don't like to write. There's no doubt about that. I think what it begins with first, it's important to know, do they understand what they're writing? How much of the pre-writing activities have they done? How are they holding the pencil or the crayon or the chalk or whatever it is that you are giving them? Are there finer muscles of the hand developed? We tend to push children into writing, because we feel that if the child doesn't write, what has he learned? So look at that. Secondly, also for those who are lazy and they don't like to write, start with smaller portions of written work. So quick success helps. Instead of saying today you won't move till you don't write 4 pages, you finish writing 1 page first and then gradually go to 2 or 3 or whatever, whichever level the child is at. If that also doesn't work, then try a reward system. One or the 2 of these would work. But yes, those who don't like to write, don't overload them with writing. And don't compare them in your class saying, look at this child, he's finished all his homework and come today. You've written only 2 pages. He'll not write anything there. So do smaller portions. Gradually they will pick up. They may not come to doing all 6 pages, but you would be able to pull them up to doing 4 pages. So at least you made a beginning instead of just letting it be. So try these. I think it should work. Questions, please? Or any comments, questions, suggestions? I'm open to everything.
I think, ma'am, it was a wonderful session.
Thank you, ma'am.
I've been
How come there are no questions?
able to, I think either I
Yes,
always
I
feel
like that. For giving positive affirmations, yes, very good. We definitely need to give the children positive affirmations because positive affirmations really, really work. Yes.
when there are no questions, I usually say that either everything is clear or everything's gone away.
Ma'am, either they've heard or they've slept. So I really don't know which one has happened.
So teachers, if we can get some feedback on that, have you heard or have you slept? And there's a
I am
question.
looking at a comment that I'm grateful for chocolate with a little smiley face. So true, no? Children can be grateful for, all kinds of things. So why not give them the opportunity to express that? That was really cute that she was grateful for all the chocolate that she was eating.
Ma'am, there is one question. Is there any way to bring eye contact towards one another?
Eye contact with you as a teacher?
Revati ma'am, if
Maybe
you can unmute and ask.
Avantika, you have to allow them to unmute,
Ma'am, yeah, sure.
or else just allow everybody to be able to unmute easily so that they can ask their questions.
My question was, when you're talking about eye contact, does it mean eye contact with you or with other children?
Ma'am, in the meanwhile, if there's another question which says,
Yes, please.
how will we
Yes, ma'am.
manage?
The eye contact with you and the student as a teacher.
So if you are going to, first the child has to be comfortable with you to make eye contact with you. So the first thing that you need to do is to get the child to speak to you, to feel that the child would want to talk to you and is comfortable to share. When they avoid eye contact, it is because they don't want to share something, usually.
Okay.
And look at the child, and very gently you can say, child, look at me and talk to me. I want
Yes,
to see
I'm
you.
doing that. Yes,
You look
ma'am.
so nice. You have such lovely eyes.
Lovely
Little
eyes.
things like that.
Sure.
Do that. Get them to be comfortable with you. And
Okay.
also see whether they're making eye contact with their friends or not.
Yes, ma'am. He's not doing that also. Eye contact with other friends. He keeps on complaining and he goes on. He's a
Doesn't matter.
kinesthetic
So
learner.
if he's complaining, means he's got a problem.
Problem. Yes.
So maybe you should, maybe he's just not comfortable in the class. By problem, I don't
Yes.
mean a problem. He's not comfortable. Something is bothering him. So speak to him. Speak to
Yes, ma'am.
his friends. Speak to the parents. Find out why. Maybe he's not getting enough sleep and coming to school.
Sleep.
Maybe
Okay.
somebody is bullying him and he doesn't want to come to school. It could be
Yeah,
that.
maybe. Yes.
There's rampant bullying happening all over the place. So maybe there's
Yeah.
something that's bothering him.
Okay.
So please do that. And if you still need for an answer, please connect back with me.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the wonderful session, ma'am.
Another question, how can we encourage a shy child to speak up?
As I said just now, first, somebody who's shy, if you've identified a child as being shy, please make the child comfortable with you. When the child is comfortable with you, then give little activities. All of a sudden, if you give a shy child a speech to render in the assembly, then it's not right. Little portions where, okay, now read this line. Okay, now come here and recite this poem. Okay, where you do only one line of this rhyme. Don't do 4 lines. Start with little things like that till they become comfortable. And if the child is taking time to speak, don't push. Wait for the child to speak. Encourage. Don't get disheartened. Even if the child doesn't speak 4 times, the 5th time he will speak. Or you tell him, okay, speak only to me, child. Speak in front of 2 people, speak in front of 1 person, speak in front of 3 people. Then, oh, you were wonderful. I really enjoyed this. Now, will you recite it in your class? Get him to open up like that. But comfort. To reach children, you have to ensure that children are comfortable and they're happy. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. Krishna sir, do you want to unmute and ask your question?
Yes, it's Krishna.
Yeah,
Hi.
sorry, ma'am.
It's okay. So basically, I have been, so I was in the teaching field. I'm still in the teaching field, but I was teaching as a teacher and I had only 20 students in my class maximum. But now I'm working with some other teachers and they have 40 students in their class. So I was just wondering how easy or how difficult, I feel it's difficult to, involve all the students in the class when you have a syllabus that you need to finish. So then what do you think we should do or how do I get the teachers to
Now, tell me
work on
something.
that?
Are you, what age level are you talking about? Are you talking about the kindergarten, early childhood, the 40 children in the class?
Yes. No,
Now,
not early. So we have 30 students in a class in early years.
now, okay, if you have 30 to 35 children in a class, one is that it is difficult. I'm not denying that. Because in 40 minutes to give 40 children individual attention is difficult. But if you have a fair idea about the kind of learning your child is doing in the class, if I can group A and C and F and G together and put M and P and G and H together, it'll become simpler, where they are comfortable, where they're learning similarly. One is that.
Okay.
That helps. And as we talked earlier, if you do, and when you're talking about finishing the syllabus, let us look at not just finishing the syllabus. Let us look at conceptual understanding. Let us look at application. The moment you do application work in class, your syllabi will go faster.
Yes.
So try and make a change in your change or add these in your curriculum to do that. And learning from the environment. What is around? Children pick up that the fastest. When you can use resources which are easily available, you don't have to look for resources big and buy things and stuff like that all the time. But definitely, and make it interesting. Larger the class, the more engaging, the more interesting your lesson, the faster the learning.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sakshi ma'am, I hope your answer is also question is also answered. You got the answer. There's one more question. How can we improve communication skills?
It's going to sound not very nice, but I think first we need to find out whether we are good communicators ourselves. And communication is huge. So it will depend on what kind of verbal and non-verbal communication you are doing yourself with your children. So maybe Himani ma'am, if you're there, Avantika, if you're there, we will look at
Yeah.
a module on communication separately.
Sure, ma'am. I think, ma'am, that makes sense.
Yeah, we will look at communication and in the early childhood years, verbal and non-verbal communication. We will look at it separately because it is an important issue, and I think all of us. But at the outset, I would say first find out, let's us look at ourselves and see whether we are communicating properly. We are communicating positively or not, because children pick up nuances very fast. All right.
Pooja, ma'am,
We
can you
would
unmute
do a
yourself?
session on communication with you separately.
Pooja ma'am, you can unmute yourself and ask the
Listen,
question.
listen.
Yeah, hi, good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Yeah, I
Yes,
have a
ma'am.
question. A child who is very good able to recognize the letters of the alphabet is recognizing everything along with the phonetic sound. But numbers he's not able to tell at least till 10. So how do I help him out?
Have you tried a different method of getting
Yeah,
it to
I've tried his playway method. I've tried
No, I
charts.
don't mean just playway. Try different ways of, a different kind of worksheets. What is the issue? Is it the numbers are written upside down, or he's not able to figure out the numbers?
No, he's not able to even say the numbers in a sequence. He misses even.
So it's okay. There is a sequential
Yeah,
issue. All right. So
yes.
then we can, Himani ma'am, can we just note this down? I can talk to you about this later.
Yes, ma'am.
Sure,
Yes,
sure.
please.
Because generally numbers, if you do it in 5-6 different ways, children pick up very fast.
Yeah, but that's
And
the
they
whole
do
year.
it. And what age? And what age are you looking at?
He is around 4.5 now.
That's
This whole
okay.
year.
4 years, one doesn't expect sequencing, ma'am. Please.
Not that
If
is it is till
sequencing is
10.
not happening till the age of 6, it's perfectly fine.
Okay, because he's very good in letters. That's
Doesn't
what is
matter.
concerning me.
Maybe language is his ability. If you read about multiple intelligences, you'll understand.
Okay.
Maybe his linguistic ability is higher than his numerical ability. But
Okay.
sequencing at 4.5 is just not important.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
So
Thank you.
relax. It's
Yeah,
not
okay.
an issue.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Teachers, we have a lot of more questions. Namrata ma'am, you can unmute yourself.
Yes, ma'am. Hello. Yes.
Bye.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, ma'am, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I'm working with kindergarten kids. So you told about kind of students and the learning styles. So can grouping help them to make the students learn easily?
Yes, ma'am, definitely. If you are able to identify, say, 6 visual learners and 10 auditory learners and 4 kinesthetic learners, and you put them together, not for the whole day, but for certain activities, if you put them together, learning will definitely be faster. But again, ma'am, it's important to remember that this is a dominance. It doesn't mean a kinesthetic learner does not have the other abilities, other styles.
Yes, ma'am.
So don't do it for, if you're grouping, don't do it like, okay, for this whole semester they're grouped together. No. Grouping
yes, ma'am.
occasionally will help.
Okay. Actually, I have a student which is very lazy and needs all-time attention. If I attend him, then and then only he will write. So
there are a lot of children like that, ma'am.
Actually, he's a brilliant one, but
so that's why he's lazy, no? Because he understands,
yes,
he or she understands everything fast, knows, and gets lazy and distracted.
Oh,
it's
yes,
okay.
ma'am.
Children are allowed to be lazy once in it's okay, ma'am.
Okay, thank you for this, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Am I audible?
Yes.
I'm Junie.
Yes.
So the mirror imaging, like when they write B, they write B instead of B and B instead of B. So children, what age it is okay?
How old are your children?
I'm teaching in kindergarten, but I'm helping out with a 7-year-old child. But she's also doing the same 7 years. 7, yeah. She's in the 2nd standard now, but till now also she's misplacing the letters. Like mirror image is not. She's doing the mirror image now.
Unless it becomes, I think you can watch till end of class 2. If it doesn't go by then, and if it's only 1 or 2 word letters that they're there, it's okay. If the
Only
mirror
B
image-
and D. She's always
That's-
confusing with
that's
the B
okay.
and D.
That's okay. Mirror image becomes an issue when we find that, 50% of the letters are showing a mirror image issue.
Okay, okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
but if it's 1 or 2 letters, it's okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, ma'am. One more question. How do we help a child who forgets the concepts again and again?
The child will forget the concept because he has not learned it, he has not understood it. So please reach out. When I said in the beginning, that when you've done everything that you've done, but there will be those 3-4 children in your class who haven't understood anything. You feel they haven't understood anything. Maybe you need to reach out to the child differently. So if the child, he is not forgetting, he doesn't know, what is he going to tell you? So if you feel that again the child has forgotten, please spend some time with the child, explain to him or her, or reach the child so that the child understands. You have to find a way to explain it to the child. Maybe the way you've explained it, he hasn't understood.
Ma'am, one more question. How to control the hyperactive children?
Ma'am, we can do a session on this.
Yeah,
We will
we will plan it.
You hyperactive children are children who finish their work immediately or for other reasons. You have to have lots of activities in your class. You have to identify their style of learning. If they have, that's why I said have lots of content in the class. Finish the work. She's finished her work. Give her something more to do. Engage the child in some other activity. So you have to be on your toes, which I'm sure you all are in your classrooms.
Yeah, ma'am. Sakshi ma'am, do you want to unmute and ask? I don't think so. How to do final assessment after learning about children's learning style?
There's nothing like final assessment, ma'am. Once you've identified somebody's style of learning, you just give activities according to that. There's no assessment for this. It's not like a one-time thing, no? Because maybe today I'm learning in the auditory mode. Tomorrow I might want to learn in the kinesthetic mode. I might want to walk up and down and learn. But yes, if all the time I'm walking up and down and learning, then I'm a kinesthetic learner. So there are no final assessments to this. These are just pointers that will help you understand the children in your classes better so that you can leave. We are all under the policy of no child to be left behind, isn't it? So how will we ensure that we don't leave any child behind if we don't understand these in the classes? I hope I've been able to answer some of your questions. Please don't think of learning styles as any kind of final assessment.
Yeah. Nupur ma'am, do you want to unmute and ask?
Hello.
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you.
Ma'am, I want to ask you, with age, like, are there any chances that the learning styles of children may take a little bit shift on the either side?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, most certainly.
Okay.
Definitely, with the kind of exposure they have, or with the kind of environment they're in, the kind of, whatever is happening around them, the kind of school they are going to, their learning styles may change. Definitely. that's why I said there's no final assessment.
Okay.
Because you see, even we as adults, as we go through, we discover our own style, isn't it?
That is what I wanted to
Yeah.
confirm.
So definitely it can change.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. I think we are okay. We've got a lot of questions. Anything else, or we'll?
Yeah, I think all the questions were answered here.
If there are any more questions, you can write in on the group. There are no issues. We'll try and answer them.
Good evening, ma'am. I'm Shrija Venkatesh.
Yes.
Sorry, ma'am. Actually, I want to know how to improve the speaking skills. I'm taking KG kindergarten.
Ma'am, with speaking skills, you have to do a lot of activities that involve speaking. You have to give your children the opportunity to speak, not judge them.
Yeah, so we are giving more opportunities, ma'am, but that child, we are not able to understand what he is speaking. Means that word is not clear, pronunciation, and it's not clear. So how to improve that?
Ma'am, will you connect with me separately?
Yeah, okay, ma'am.
Then we'll discuss this.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. A great session, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Avantika, ma'am, there were some of the teachers where I had said if they can connect with me separately, please, we can connect, we can figure that out.
Yeah, sure, ma'am. So everyone just message me on the group, or they can message me personally. I will just send your query to ma'am, and you can connect with her personally and get your query solved.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah, thank you so much, all the teachers who have joined us here, and thank you, Ruma ma'am, for such a wonderful session.
Pleasure,
And
ma'am.
yeah, and I just have a few announcements to make. So every educator who is joined us here, who has not been a part of the community, they can just take a screenshot of this and sign up for the form. So we can just add you to the community, and you can share your queries in the group. We will take it up personally and share with Ruma ma'am also to get it resolved. And thank you everyone. And we will have sessions on first and third Saturdays every month. So our next session will be on 1st of April, and we will share all the details in the group itself. So, and one more request to all the educators, please don't put any good morning and irrelevant questions in the group. It's a humble request to all the educators present here.
Thank you. Thank you,
Also,
everyone. Thank you, Avantika. Thank you, Emmanuel.
A few of you have asked for the feedback form and the certificates. To share the feedback link in the WhatsApp group, please make sure you fill this and you'll receive a certificate automatically.
Yeah, I will just share the feedback form in the group itself. Then everyone can fill it up and get their certificates. Yeah, thank you everyone,
Thank
and
you,
have a
everybody.
lovely weekend.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.